Welcome to another episode of Joan Deserves a Musical, where I talk about my efforts to turn the life of Joan of Arc into a family-friendly animated musical. And today I want to talk a little bit about how songs, what they mean to the structure and the storytelling of a movie. A musical, as I've talked in previous episodes, is really a different kind of form of storytelling. There are things you can do in songs that you can't necessarily do in other ways, and that's what initially set me down this path. There are parts of Joan of Arc's story that just don't make any sense. Even though they happened in history, she convinces people to do things that on their face seem totally irrational. And yet, if she's going to be the hero of the story, we want the audience to come along with that irrationality. And so a song is a great way to tap into the emotions of the audience and bring them through. It was interesting. There are moments in this story that could be songs that I'm choosing not to make songs. In particular, there are times where Joan gives speeches, motivational speeches to the army or to other people. And these are written as monologues, not as songs. And I've talked about this with some friends, and they've said that doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't have any monologues in a musical. If there's a monologue, it should just be sung. But I disagree, because if there's one thing all war movies have in common, or sports movies, or any movies where there's this element of competition, it's that at some point, someone gives a great motivational speech, right? Whether that's a military leader or a sports coach, someone does. And what we learn from this is that monologues work. Monologues can bring our emotions along. Monologues can do the job. And this is something that's familiar to us in the 21st century, right? We know if the team or the army or whoever is feeling discouraged, a good leader can come and pep them up and give them the energy they need to go face their challenge once more. And so I think inserting songs into this spot would be a mistake. For one thing, it would mean a lot more songs. It would expand the runtime. It would make the whole thing a lot harder to make. But also, I think it would just kind of hurt the momentum, and it wouldn't help. There would be no upside. If the monologues work fine, then there's no need for a song, and introducing a song might actually hurt things. And so, thinking about this decision of things Joan does where she convinces or persuades people to make a particular choice, my razor for deciding whether it's going to be a song or whether it's going to be a monologue or dialogue is entirely on how much my 21st century intuitions tell me what is happening is hard to believe. If it's harder to believe that this would happen, this would work, then we're going to make it a song. If it's easy to believe, if there's even sort of a trope in Hollywood for this, then we can absolutely do a monologue. So that's kind of one piece of how I'm thinking about this. And initially there were going to be, I forget, like 9 songs, because one of those songs was going to be her getting the army to believe her. But then I realized, no, this is a thing we're used to. She could just give really powerful speeches, and hopefully I can write really powerful speeches, and that'll just work. So then we had 8 songs. But in a recent meeting with Amanda, my songwriter, we were looking at the structure of this thing, and we cut another song. We took it down to 7 for an entirely different reason. And this is really exciting and interesting to me. I don't know if it makes sense to anyone else in the world. But I introduced the idea to Amanda, and she loves it. So maybe you will too. There is this ancient literary structure called chiasm. It shows up a lot in the Old Testament, maybe in the New Testament, kind of old scriptural places. You find this structure, and it's a form of parallelism where there is a reversal. So if you think of a statement like the first shall be last and the last shall be first, that's a very small chiasm. It's just 2 lines, and the second one is backwards from the first one. And great chiasms of the ancient world are like 20 lines long, and you can lay them out in this beautiful like sideways V shape. And it's lovely. It's fun. I really like it. And I've always sort of been drawn to this form. One thing that's really interesting about chiasm is the middle point is emphasized. So in something like the first shall be last and the last shall be first, there is no middle. That's just a simple chiasm. But if you have 5 or 7 or 13 lines, and the middle it doesn't have a parallel anywhere, it's just there in the middle, that really highlights it and draws attention to it. And the point of this poetic form is to do that. And so one thing I suggested to Amanda was, what if we did this with the songs? because we know that the opening song is going to be reprised as the closing song. And we one idea I really like that I got from Moana is the I Want song can be repeated in the All Is Lost moment. And so we have two sets of bookends. And I wondered, can we keep that going? And can we have the middle one somehow stand out? But I had 8 songs suggested, and Amanda said there's no clear middle with an even number of songs. So she picked out a song and removed it. And I'll talk to you just a minute about what that was. But what we ended up with is 7 songs, and the middle one is the duet between Joan and Charles, which I brought up before as this very crucial moment, and one where a lot of things could go wrong if we don't get it exactly right. Well, just this week, I got to hear the first version of that song, and I think it's working. But a really interesting thing that came up is the interplay between spoken and sung. So I've been thinking about this in a more macro level, right? We either have a monologue or we have a song. But as Amanda was playing the early version of the song for me and talking about her thought process with it, she was talking about things that we had discussed should be covered in this song, but that just didn't musically fit in. And she said, what if we sprinkle some dialogue in? And that's actually really exciting to me because I think something musical songs in musicals do that, like most times normal, music doesn't do, is people talk, right? Like the music, the background music will keep going, but you'll have like this little side conversation, then go back to singing. And I don't have any clear indication of how to do that well or poorly. I have an intuitive sense that sometimes when I'm watching a musical, you can hear they're about to start singing, and sometimes it's like, oh brother, here we go again. And sometimes you're just swept away. They're talking, and then suddenly they're singing, and you're like, that was a seamless transition. I don't know the best practices around that, and near as I can tell, this is an area YouTube does not have any videos to teach me the best practices, or even for there to be internet rants where someone's sharing their opinion. And so it's something I've thought about a lot. How do we transition into and out of songs? But with this center song, the kind of gemstone, capstone piece of this whole thing, we're gonna, they're gonna be talking, and then they're gonna sing a verse and a chorus, and then they're gonna be talking and back to the chorus. And this week, we met, and she's like, I don't know how to do this. And I was like, well, what if we put some dialogue in, and what if we do that here and there? And so I've kind of broken her song into pieces and inserted dialogue into it. And I'm really excited for it. It's an early version. We still have a lot of wrinkles to iron out, but it is so cool and so engaging, and it makes it feel more real. We're giving the it's almost like we're building commentary into it. The song is characters sharing their emotions and pulling us as an audience along with their emotions, and then the dialogue is more just like them expressing their character and arguing about details. And so the song is when they're aligned, they're singing in harmony, and then whoa. Charles now has some new worries he's expressing. Now we're back in dialogue, and Joan pulls him back into song, and now we know we're on a good path again. So I think that's really exciting. As for the song we removed, it is a song I have been nervous about from the earliest days when Amanda and I first started seriously talking about songs. There's like, this one, I just don't know how we can make it good because it's a montage song and a time where a priest was giving Joan some like life lessons. And the purpose of the song, the whole reason it was in there, is Joan has this meeting with Charles. He says, all right, I trust her. Let's give her an army. His advisors say, no, we've got to have her examined by the church fathers first. And so there are 2 weeks of delays. And that drives Joan crazy. But she passes and she gets to lead the army. And I can't, in the context of an 85, 90-minute movie, or in the context of any movie, spend 2 weeks just waiting for administrators to make up their mind, right? What a way to kill the momentum. And yet it's really important that this is a hurdle Joan has to overcome. And so I was like, we'll just have a montage song and we can see the weeks passing. But the song was not going to add anything to the movie. Nobody was being persuaded of anything. the audience was not brought along emotionally anywhere. It was literally just a way to kill time. And so once Amanda suggested, like, looking at this chiasm, this song is sort of an outlier. It doesn't match with anything else. It doesn't really belong here. We cut it, and then we realized, wait, we've got saints narrating this thing. We could just have them say, she was stuck there for 2 weeks, and then this happened, right? And so that's what we're doing now. And so it's just interesting to keep making these decisions from so many different angles, right? Sometimes it's my intuitions about whether we need a song to bring the audience along emotionally, to overcome their concerns that what people are doing is unrational. Sometimes it's that we have this structure we want for the movie. We want this arc that it goes through, and this chiasm is an arc on its side, right? And that can work really well. There's just, I guess, not one right way to decide where the songs go in a musical, but we're talking about all these things, and the script keeps evolving and morphing and becoming better and better and better. And so I think we are just a few weeks away from a complete version of this thing, and I'm really excited to see what that finally looks like.